My next speaker, a fellow union brother, a great friend of the machinists, along with Congressman Capuano. I met him 7, 8 years ago, and every time I go to DC, I visit his office, and he always welcomes me in. He's a great friend, a great union brother. I'd like to introduce Congressman Stephen Lynch.
Thank you, Tom. Thanks for your kind words. I just want to welcome all of our union brothers here this morning. I know we've got 1726 machinists. We also have Local 264 machinist Jimmy Howard over here, also a great pal and a big supporter of all working people in Massachusetts. I know we had some of the Teamsters here earlier this morning, and also the AFA. I want to echo everything that Mike has said. Also, Jack Powers and I think, must have got in the business at around the same time, because I've been on full dues with the ironworkers since, well, for 37 years now. That's unbelievable. I'm getting old. But best thing I ever did was get involved in the union movement. I'm the only member of Congress who has been the president of a union, so I look at things a little differently. And what Mike has been hitting on is there's a real parallel between this election that you're engaged in with Delta Airlines and the other election, the midterm elections in Congress and around the country and in these states. And one of the things that bothers me greatly is the lack of outrage when you think about what you're asking for. What are we asking for in trying to organize Delta? It's very simple, and it's infuriating when you think about how hard we are fighting and what we are fighting for. If we win this election, if we're able to organize Delta, they will be forced to sit down across from the employee's representative and talk about the terms and conditions of employment and the wages that you earn. That's all. That is it. They can say no till the cows came home, but all they're required to do is sit across the table from their employees. And they're spending $40 million because they don't want to sit across the table from the employee's representative. That drives me nuts. And they would rather try to beat down their employees. Where is the middle class going to come from in this country? If the people, the skilled workers within our airports, and you know how complicated this is here. Mike and I fly a lot. Mike Capuano, we are frequent flyers. And I mentioned last time, we fly at least 2-3 times a week. And now, and it's not just Delta, I just spent a lot of time negotiating on behalf of U.S. Air employees, the pilots and the flight attendants, machinists, because they're going to close down. They have closed down their base operation in Logan. They've got people flying to Washington and Philadelphia now. But I had to negotiate with their CEO out of Phoenix, Arizona. He didn't want to come this way, so I had to deal with that. And also at the same time, Mike and I are dealing with the TSA employees who, because of when they organized that agency, 700,000 employees, they refused to allow them the basic right that you're fighting for, which is to organize, to be recognized, and to have their representatives negotiate on their behalf. These are very, very basic rights. But you're fighting, what Mike was saying is absolutely right. It's a bigger fight. It's not just your fight. It's a fight for all the other workers in this country. And how this comes out will greatly influence the success that the telecommunications workers are fighting for in their fight. And laborers and those TSA workers are fighting in their fight. And the nurses and healthcare workers in their fight. So this is all part of the same philosophy that we're fighting against, that you have to squeeze every single nickel out of every worker. And you got to pay them as low as possible in order to be successful. And you've got to squeeze and bleed success for your company out of the backs of your workers. It's a mean season out there. It's a mean season. It's the same thing we're seeing in the midterm elections, where you have candidates out there saying To hell with those federal employees, they're getting a pension. We shouldn't be contributing to their pension. To hell with those unionized workers, they shouldn't have health care. It's a very mean-spirited sense out there. The Tea Party is driving a lot of this, but it's wider than that. It's the business community as well, and we have to really think about what we're fighting for here. It's a very basic right. It's pathetic how little we're asking for in terms of a concession. Just sit down. Just sit down on the other side of the table and let's talk about the conditions that we're working under. As a matter of public safety, a lot of the employees in this industry don't have the right to strike. We've got to keep working. We've got to keep the airlines going. We have to keep commerce going. And so we're compelled to continue to work while we grieve the injustices that are heaped upon us. And so really when you're in that situation, the right to sit down and negotiate about the differences is even more enhanced. Think about that. If you're not going to walk out the door, and we don't encourage that. We don't encourage that. Not unless it's absolutely necessary. What we do ask is that respect our grievance and arbitration process. Sit down and negotiate with us over our differences, and let's keep this country and this company moving in the right direction. So we are with you. And a lot of members of Congress, Mike and I are the local representatives, but a lot of us are with you, and we understand what you're up against. And we understand firsthand the sort of really visceral and negative response you're getting from big business, especially Delta Airlines. There's a better way to do this as a company. You treat your employees with respect. You give them the basic right to negotiate on the terms and conditions of their employment. You run a safer airline, a better airline, better morale for the employees, and better service to your customers. You're more successful. And that's what we're trying to convince Delta Airline in this campaign. So we are with you. God bless you all. Work safely. And God bless the United States of America.